Thank you, Steve. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm calling to order the meeting, the Finance Committee meeting on Monday, March 10th at 4 p.m. And we start with a roll call. So Joe,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Rob,
Here.
Peter,
Here.
Chris,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye, here.
Joanna,
Aye, here.
and Denise, aye. Thank you. Okay, may I have an approval of the agenda, please? There are no changes to the agenda.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Okay, so made by Peter, seconded by Jill. Joe,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Denise, aye. Thank you. I'm now going to open it for public comment. If there is any public comment on any item that is not on our agenda. And seeing no hands raised, I'm closing public comment. Okay. Before we get into the first topic, I just want to make a comment, which is going forward, I really need everyone to raise their hand and not speak until I call on you. Our last few meetings have been a bit of a exercise for me to be able to moderate them because of people talking over each other from time to time. Not consistently, but often enough that's made it very difficult. One of the things that I've always respected and appreciated about our committee is that even when we disagree, we are very thoughtful and considerate about the way that we interact with each other. Our last few meetings have not really represented us well in that dimension. So I'm looking forward to a better process going forward starting today. When you want to speak, Finance Committee members, please do as the public does and raise your hand and I will call on you. Thank you very much. Okay. The agenda item is discussion, deliberation, and recommendations for outstanding warrant articles for the annual town meeting 2025, including any articles that may need to be revisited. So first article up is article number 2, Select Board Appropriation Unpaid Bills. And I will turn it over to our Finance Director, Mr. Turbot.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Stephen, are you going to share? Yeah. So before you have the article, Stephen, if you would like to scroll through it. The general fund, can you keep scrolling? There is what would appear to be a rather large number this year of $120,082.90. I would point out that first of all, I want to congratulate the DPW who had 0 unpaid bills this year. Their office staff did a really great job of making sure that they got all their encumbrances in for the year. I would note that there's one rather large one, and this really isn't the fault of Natural Resources. It's $99,420 to UMass Dartmouth. This is actually UMass Dartmouth's fault. It's 2 years of invoices for a contract that they pay out of their operating budget, which we did not receive until August 6th or 7th, I believe. We would have had 1 year of this, which was $49,000 automatically be a prior year bill. The other year for fiscal 24, had they remembered that they hadn't paid it yet, would have properly been encumbered, but this bill was received even far too late to encumber even fiscal 24 at the point we received it. So unfortunately, that is a rather large number, but other than that, but for that, we would have had a much smaller year than we've had in prior years. Airport had a fairly good year in terms of unpaid bills. They did a really great job too, only 1,504. And we only had one unpaid bill in Island Home, $5,563 there. And can you scroll down, Stephen? I think that's it, to be honest with you. Is that all of them? I think, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So if you want to scroll back up, we're proposing taking the amount for the general fund from free cash, the amount to be appropriated for the airport from retained earnings, and the amount to be appropriated from Island Home to be paid from retained earnings as well.
Any questions for Brian? Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
Okay, seeing no questions, may I have a motion?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, made by Peter, seconded by Jill, was first off the mark. Okay, roll call. Stephen or Steve, can I see this people again? Because I thank you. Joe,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Jeremy,
Aye.
Denise, I. That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay. Brian,
Article 3, appropriation prior year articles, Madam Chair, and Stephen will share that. I'll be happy to take you through it. The first one is relatively easy. We have some money left over from Article 10 of the 2022 annual town meeting for Jetties Beach, the crack ceiling article, which, as everybody knows, we had a $1.9 million article for reconstruction of the Jetties Beach tennis courts. So this article currently would not be needed. And we are proposing transferring it to make some improvements to the Bacchus Lane Skate Park. The rest of the articles in the general fund, a majority of them are transfers from various capital articles to all to Article 12 of the 2021 annual town meeting for the reconstruction of Lover's Lane. The first thing I would note is that this is a rather large supplemental appropriation into a previously approved capital program article for the reconstruction of Lover's Lane and the surrounding roads. We will be requesting a meeting with the capital program committee to present this supplemental request to them. This has not gone before them. It came up recently as the engineer and DPW have done some scope changes and price changes that have substantially changed the cost of this project. As you can see, there's quite a substantial amount. It's about a little over $5 million here. That would, in terms of cost increases, there is in Article 23 a rescission of some borrowing that was related to sidewalk reconstruction money in Article 10, which I think we would be doing next week, pending the outcome of some other pieces of information we're still waiting for on Article 10, Madam Chair. We would be putting an article forward for an additional borrowing authorization to fulfill the rest of that supplemental request in the amount of $1.2 million. I think I'll stop here and let the committee, if they have any questions of Drew at this point. I think just because he is on, I did ask him to come just in case with the relatively large amount of that supplemental appropriation.
so Brian, just to be clear, and for the finance committee, this article, while it's being presented now, we will wait until the capital committee has a chance to weigh in on it, and then we will go ahead and make the motion at that point. Is that correct? And to that
I
end,
think we were hoping that you would make the motion on Article 3, knowing that we were going to go and discuss it and present it to the capital program committee as well, because I think the intent, Madam Chair, is to put this out to bid.
Okay.
We're in the process of building the bid structure now so that we can have bids in hand, I believe, within 45 days from now. So we would have an idea of what that costs look like prior to town meeting as well.
Okay, so, I mean, just for the finance committee's benefit, I had a quick meeting this afternoon with Libby and Brian because there's a couple of moving parts that weren't anticipated and we will not be able to get to by end of day tomorrow. So we have agreed that we will have a hopefully quick meeting on March 20th, which is Thursday at 4 o'clock, to close off those things in order to avoid having a technical amendments, because as we all know at town meeting, when there are several technical amendments, that's hard for the voters, and we're better off getting it in the warrant now, and we can extend it to next a week from Thursday to be able to close it off. So we wouldn't have to have technical amendments the day of or the couple days before town meeting. So, okay, all right, Brian, then questions from the committee, and remember, please raise your hand. Joe?
Brian, are you, or Madam Chair, Brian, are you encountering, or Joe, are you encountering, or Madam Chair, Brian, are you, or Madam Chair, Brian, are you encountering, 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 or Madam Chair, Brian, are you cost increases in construction? Is that what?
We are expecting that there will be price increases, I think partially with this project. I don't want to speak for the entirety of the project, Joe, but with Lover's Lane, there's certainly there was some scope changes which have added to the cost, but we're also seeing construction cost increases. And I think we're also expecting with some of the recent actions of the administration that we're going to experience some additional cost increases as a result of those actions as well.
Thank you.
Joanna?
Thank you. So for example, on Article 10, 2021 annual town meeting, so these are just monies that are left over in previous capital projects. That's my first question, like balance, that's the balance that's left in the account.
Yes, those are balances, and I do want to commend Drew. He did a really good job of going through the accounts. Some of these are rather large appropriations that do have balances left in them, Joanna, and this is money that Drew feels comfortable transferring out of those that will still leave money available to continue to do work in those articles. It's not closing out all of the money in those articles. And this was also done based on a really deep analysis of how much work, since we all know that we have one vendor that can do the majority of the work that we're transferring out of those articles from on Island, that being Victor Brandon, is also knowing how much money we have allocated versus how much work that the contractor can really get done. The amount we're transferring still leaves money in those articles to continue to do some work in those articles, but also fulfill the need of being able to complete this really important project of the reconstruction of Lover's Lane and that road area.
Well, that's kind of where I was going to get with my second comment here. So essentially what you've done is you have decided to prioritize the reconstruction of Lover's Lane over some of these other projects that were already funded.
We've done an analysis and have made a decision that we can still continue with those prior articles at a lower funding level right now and shift that funding to this priority, yes.
So for example, wow, we got to some feedback. So for example, on the 2023 Article 10, the annual cobblestone improvements and maintenance, have we spent any money on the cobblestone and maintenance improvement project, or we're taking all of the money from that account and putting it into Lover's Lane? Like, how do we know if any of these have any money left?
You can correct me if I'm wrong, but we have not spent any out of the 2023, but we still have 24 funding available for cobblestone repair.
Okay. Okay. I mean, just okay. Thank you.
Jill?
If it helps Joanna, usually they ask for the same amount of money almost every single year through capital for some of these things. And, you know, sometimes I think the contractor really can't get them done. There's not the manpower or they don't have the approvals or what. So it kind of makes sense because this money is actually, I mean, for all these, it's already going towards the multi-use path repair anyway, and the Lover's Lane project includes a bike path. So, you know, I feel like it's a clean, I feel like it's a like for like enough. But we do ask in capital, like, oh, you're asking for cobblestones, are you really going to get this done? I mean, we do have those conversations at the committee level.
Okay.
Other questions for Brian? Brian, are there more transfers besides?
Yes, so in housing, everybody is aware of we're proposing transferring free cash to Article 17 of the 2022 annual town meeting, article for seasonal employee housing construction, 550,000. As that, which is the dormitory that's currently under construction, as that went through the HDC process, there were rather substantial changes made to the design that was originally proposed, which has has consumed all of the contingency as it's gone forward in the change order to them processed. There's substantial amount of low voltage electrical work that needs to be done, and we do need to have temporary generator power to power the elevator that needs to be installed for a temporary basis. And there were some additional design changes in terms of security were requested by the police department that have added to the cost, and the OPM and the design firm have put a cost to those at an estimate of $550,000 all in, with a contingency of roughly about $150,000. So we're proposing transferring $550,000 of free cash to be able to fund and continue the work so that we will be able to meet the target date of June 1st for a move-in date for the lifeguards, and as such that we'll be moving into that new facility.
And Brian, Brian, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You are very fuzzy. I mean, your voice is very fuzzy, so I don't think it's just my computer. I think, is everyone else hearing Brian
Yes.
in an echo chamber? So
Yes,
could you log out and come back in, please? Because you don't seem to have a very good connection. And as you have a starring role right now, we would like to hear you clearer. Okay. Okay, I thought it was just my computer, but I heard somebody else refer to it, so let's see if his reentry sounds better. Of course, now if he doesn't come back at all, that will be a problem.
Is that better, Madam Chair?
Oh, much better,
Okay.
Brian. Thank you.
You're
Okay.
welcome. Sorry about that.
That's okay. You didn't know. So, all right, so
So-
that's the housing. Yep.
So subtotal of the general fund, Madam Chair, is $5,822,177.82. Stephen, if you wouldn't mind scrolling down.
So Brian, I'm going to stop you there and ask if anybody has any questions about the general fund before we move on to the next part. Are there any questions for Brian here? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Brian. Carry on.
Thank you. So the airport has some various transfers as laid out here. This is all consistent with their policy of transferring unexpended funds in prior articles into current articles in a manner such that they do not need to use the borrowing authorizations that they have in those articles, and that's consistent here. So they're asking to transfer some unused proceeds and available funding from Article 20 of the 2019 annual town meeting for the resurfacing of Taxiway Echo, $40,559, and that would go to Article 22 of the 2024 annual town meeting for their groundwater and soil investigation. They're proposing transferring the $304,000 that you see there from Article 16 of 2021, the Taxiway G and 1230 into that same article as referenced there. Another $32,000 from Article 16 of the 2021 annual town meeting for airport maintenance and equipment into the groundwater and soil investigation. $373. See, they like to transfer every available fund that they have from the permit for master plan update into the groundwater and soil investigation account. And then another $29,486 from their airport layout plan article into the groundwater soil, and then $242,650 from airport retained earnings into the groundwater and soil investigation. Keep scrolling down. And then transferring from retained earnings $132,000 into Article 16 of the 2022 annual town meeting groundwater investigation article. $732,000 from airport retained earnings into Article 22 of the 2022 annual town meeting for their ARF truck, and $252,385 from retained earnings to Article 22 of the 2022 annual town meeting for A220 gate hard stands. And then they have a lot. $3,885,000 from retained earnings to Article 2022 of the 2023 annual town meeting for construction of Nobody Farm employee housing. And I do want to make one comment about this. In Article 23, you will see a request for a rescission of the borrowing authority for the like amount of $3,885,000. This is consistent with the way the airport has always done all of their projects, which is they get a borrowing authorization and then they fund the cost of construction of their projects through retained earnings over a period of years. Given the fact that they had a substantial amount of retained earnings this year, in discussion with Maria, she felt comfortable transferring in the $3.8 million to cover the construction costs this year, and they're rescinding the borrowing authorization. So they're not adding another $3.8 million on top of what they had to build the dormitory. Airport retained earnings, 600,000 into Article 22 of the 2023 meeting for the perimeter road and fence relocation. Airport retained earnings for the Article 22 of the 2023 meeting for the Letco tug replacement, 13,698. Retained earnings, 35,000 for replacement of ramp high mast lights from Article 22 of 24 town meeting. 75,000 from airport retained earnings for Article 22 of the 2024 annual town meeting, milling and overlay of runway 624, and 14,230 from airport retained earnings for the HRP environmental monitoring. All told, they are requesting transfers into various capital articles, $5,738,629.97.
Thank you, Brian. Questions? Joe?
Ryan, there were some articles for the airport that were not approved at the last year's meeting, if my memory is correct. Last year, the year before, I think maybe both. I can't remember exactly, but there's nothing going here to pay for something that didn't get approved. Okay.
No, there's not.
Yeah,
no.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Any other questions? Okay, Brian, carry on. Solid waste.
Solid waste has a few here. We need to replace the leachate tanks. There was some funding already, so this would be supplemental. We will talk to capital about this as well. Article 22 of the 2022 annual town meeting, we had appropriated money for smart compactor waste receptacles. There's $151,000 remaining. We're proposing transferring that to the Article 3 of the 2024 annual town meeting, which created the funding for the leachate tanks. That would add another $151,034 to that article, which would give it a total of $400,000 to replace the tanks at the solid waste facility. And then we have 3 proposals to fund the facility restrooms and break rooms at the materials recovery and facility, $6,390 from Article 16 of the 2020 annual town meeting from the article we created called Materials Recovery Facility Improvements and Repairs, 100,000 from Article 20 of the 2019 annual town meeting Materials Recovery Facility Floor Drain article, and then Article 12 of the 2000 annual town meeting Materials Recovery Facility. Can you scroll down 1 second, Stephen, so I can see that? The facility sorting station, $165,187. That article that work has been completing, and that is the remaining funding from that article. All told, $422,611.81.
And the materials recovery facility is the actual dump. Is that correct, Brian? Because we're not upgrading the existing facility that's potentially going to be rebuilt.
The MRF is where all the cardboard and everything is dumped on the floor, I believe. And Drew is, if he's still on, he can answer that, I believe.
Yeah, I'm here, Brian.
Okay.
Yeah, the MRF is where you bring your waste on Saturday and Sunday, the recyclables and cardboard boxes.
Okay.
So it's a building that the town currently owns, and Waste Options operates out of.
Okay, thank you, Drew. Jill?
And just to confirm with you, Drew came to Capcom to talk about the bathrooms that needed to get some repairs. So, and he showed us pictures and I was in tears, and I'm not exaggerating. It was disgusting. disgusting. I'm so glad. I don't know how we treat people that work for the town like that. I really don't. So I'm really, really glad to see this money go in to repair that.
Thank you, Jill. Okay. Brian, is that the end of the transfers?
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any other questions for Brian on that before I ask for a motion? Okay, seeing none, may I have a motion, please?
Motion to accept.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second,
Thank you. Made by Peter, seconded by Jill. Roll call, Jill.
Aye.
Jill, I.
Jill. Stephen.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
Rob.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Joanna.
Aye.
Jeremy.
Aye.
Denise, I. Thank you. That's unanimous. Okay. All right. All right. Okay, now Article 4, Brian, I believe you need us to reopen it, so then that way you can present it to us again. Is that correct?
That's correct, Madam Chair. We had put it on, thinking we hadn't had it voted, but Stephen then reminded me that we had presented to you already. But I realized that I had inadvertently left off the short-term rental revolving fund from it, which is my fault. So we need it we would need to ask you to reopen it so we could include the short-term rental revolving fund on it.
Actually, Stephen, are you sure? Because according to my spreadsheet, we have not made a motion on this yet. We have.
Yeah.
And I just missed it. Okay. Well, I trust you more than I trust me. So, okay. May I have a motion to reopen and I'm sure it was unanimous last time, Stephen, is that correct? Thank you. So even though my notes were terrible, I knew that. All right.
So moved. Motion
Okay,
go
so
to reopen Article
motion to
5.
reopen. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Made by Jill, seconded by Peter. Jill. We have to vote on the motion.
Yeah. Aye.
Thank you. Joe,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Jeremy,
Aye.
Stephen, Maury. Oh, you're muted, but I saw your lips move.
Aye.
Denise, aye. Thank you, Stephen. Denise, aye. That's unanimous. Okay, it's reopened. Okay, Brian, back over to you.
Okay, so we will put that up. So the only thing that has changed from the last time, I'd be happy to take everybody through it if you would like, but the only thing that has changed is at the very bottom, we added the short-term rental revolving fund, which would be funded from the short-term rental registry. Town manager with the approval of Board of Health, costs associated with the short-term rental registry, including software licenses, costs associated with salaries and benefits for the short-term rental compliance coordinator, in the amount authorized of $250,000, which will cover the software license with GovOS for the rental registry and the projected cost of salaries and benefits for the short-term rental compliance coordinator that we're currently seeking to fill.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions for Brian? Okay, seeing none, may I have a motion, please?
Move
Motion to adopt.
Article 5.
Okay, so Joe
Second.
made the motion first and Peter seconded. Thank you. Okay, roll call. Steve, I need to see everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Jill,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Jeremy,
Aye.
Denise, I. That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, Article 6, please, Brian. Fiscal year 2025 general fund budget transfers.
All these years on Zoom, you'd think I would remember to take mute off once in a while. So there's only a couple. Unfortunately, the largest ones reside here with me in my office. Health and Human Services needs a small transfer from payroll into operating, $10,500. And last year, right before town meeting, we sold some debt permanently because of the timing of the rates, and knowing that we had a special town meeting and not wanting to do a technical at the very last minute on town meeting floor, we had expected to put this on the special town meeting, and it was inadvertently left off. So we're proposing taking from general insurance, transferring into debt service 550,000. Medical insurance, we're proposing transferring into interest expense $737,832. And then we unfortunately need to transfer from free cash $1,324,000 to cover the cost of the additional principal from the permanent debt service that we sold right before town meeting last year.
Okay, questions for Brian? Okay, Brian, it begs the question that our insurance costs aren't what we budgeted for. They've come in lower.
So the general insurance, that actually we're able to do that because we do chargebacks to the enterprise funds and everyone. So that is
Okay.
how we're able to do that. And then the medical insurance, as we start the budget processes, I think the committee knows that we start at somewhat of a higher number, and by the time we get to setting the rate in May, we have a much better idea of what the claims are and what they look like. And we always have changes, people going from family to individuals and vice versa, and length of time on the plan. So we do have some savings annually on the medical insurance. And we do an analysis after every payroll. So that is one area that we're fortunate on a yearly basis.
Thank you. Any other questions for Brian? Okay, if not, may I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second,
Okay. All right, so the motion to adopt, and seconded, made by Peter, seconded by Jill. And roll call. Jill.
Aye.
Jill. You're muted.
aye.
I saw- yeah, thank you. Stephen,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Jeremy,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Denise, I. It's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, Article 9, Appropriation Health and Human Services. Who will be presenting this today?
Madam Chair, I believe I think Jericho is on, is that correct?
I don't see him.
I thought I saw Health and Human Services.
No way. I think they might have been
Oh.
having.
He is, if he was, he's not on now.
I can text him because he and Veronica are in the trailer.
Okay, thank you, Amanda.
Welcome.
They were on, they may have had some technical difficulties, I
Yeah.
know that.
Well,
While we're
Brian,
doing
while
that, yeah,
Yes, go ahead.
You read my
Cecily, go
mind.
ahead.
Okay. Do you want to do Article 17?
Yes, please.
Okay. Stephen, would you like to put Article 17 up for me, please? Thank you. Okay. So we have only three. I'll go in reverse order. Sewer retained earnings into operating is the same. They had the same debt service sale that we did, transferring $315,738 to cover their portion of that debt sale that we just approved some money into the general fund for. Airport retained earnings into airport salaries, 400,000. That is, you may be aware of, there's been a couple long tenured employees that have transitioned out of the airport, and that 400,000, it will be used partially to cover some of the payouts for accrued time that will be owed to those employees. And then an analysis that Maria has done to ensure that they will have sufficient coverage in their salary budget for the remainder of this year. And then we're proposing transferring from retained earnings into operating 2.8 million. And the airport commissioner is on as well to speak to this, but this would be for the acquisition of potential acquisition of property, a purchase of a property by the airport for housing of airport employees if necessary. And they approached us with the potential that they may have an opportunity to acquire some housing and asked if we would consider putting this into Article 17 if the timing worked. And we told them that we would put this in on their behalf. So we're putting in a request to transfer $2.8 million of retained earnings into their operating budget for a potential acquisition of property that would be used to house airport employees.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Art, do you want to add some color commentary to this, please?
Thank you,
for-
Madam
thank-
Chair. Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Certainly, anytime. This is specific for our new manager who started today. I'm quite excited. He moved here, relocated from Arizona. We have him in a short-term lease, which is going to run out on in the middle of June. We've been searching for a rental since before the beginning of the year-round rental, and have been unsuccessful. As you are aware, many of you and the Capcom, we've been working on some, what I like to call the airport housing production plan to construct some housing on airport property. A lot of our resources have gone into the ongoing dorm project. And the timing with, the change in manager was not anticipated. We didn't expect, or whoever does, but with Mr. Carberg moving on, we really just don't have another housing option. And so in the short term, most immediately, we hope to be able to purchase a house. We have a very dire and immediate need for our manager and his family that all relocated here. So again, it will come out of our retained earnings without any borrowing. And I'm happy to try to address any additional questions, comments, or concerns should you have them.
Art, what's his name?
Warren Smith.
Thank you. Peter Schaefer.
Yeah, Art, just a question. What is the system you're going to use for the house? Is he just going to live in the house and pay rent to the airport, or does he have an option to buy the house? How is it going to be set up? Because previously there's been situations that weren't so good, where people have actually left the town, sold the house, and made a big profit on it.
Through you, Madam Chair.
Yes, please, Art. Go ahead. Thank you.
We have a contractual agreement that we put in with the manager, where he pays a set amount on a monthly basis for rent, so that he would know what that would be, as well as then he's responsible for any utilities. It would remain airport. It would become an airport asset. So it could be used really for any employee. It wouldn't be dedicated. It wouldn't be, there's not a right to purchase or anything like that. It's essentially a contractual rent basis, where that's fixed. And then, to be able to reside in airport owned property. We've worked with Human Resources prior to develop that contract. Because there's also I don't know how much into the weeds you want to get, but I want you to know how much we worked on this, so that there's a town policy where they also, if there is a delta to the fair market value, that essentially amount gets reported on their W-2 as well. So it's tracked well. It's all being done in conjunction with the town, not just the airport sort of doing this as a one-off. Similar to, I believe, some of the other department heads and chiefs.
Perfect. Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you, Art. Any other questions for Art or Brian? Jill?
Yes,
You're muted, Jill. There you
sorry,
go.
I just wanted to thank Art for doing this, because this is a Herculean effort. This is really hard. And it's something that when at Capitol, we really encourage the airport to look at that. We not only want to recruit a great manager, but we hope they'll stay here a long time and be part of our community. And I think looking at some of the other options that they had, which was to build, was just would have been just too unstable to get someone settled right away. And I'm really excited about it. So Art, thank you. I know that was really, really hard to do.
I appreciate that, through you, Madam Chair.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Art. Thank you, Jill. Any other questions? Okay, may I have a motion?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Thank you. Made by Peter, seconded by Jill. And roll call. Joe,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Jeremy,
Aye.
Denise, I, unanimous. Okay, I
Thank
think
you.
I see Jericho. Town Committee 3, is that Jericho?
That is us. Apologies, we've had some pretty profound technical failures here. So we're just going to use the integrated webcam and not switch over the Allen, which was crashing it. Apologies for the delay.
No problem. We kept ourselves busy, Jericho, in the meanwhile, so we had a
Thank
few
you.
things to do. And Jeremy, I don't, or Jericho, I don't know who your other
Okay.
person is.
Okay, my name is Veronica Bolchik, and I am the chair of the Contract Review Committee. And of course, I'm sitting here in the trailer with Jericho. Technical difficulties, so we've just had a scramble, so thank you for your patience.
Thank
The
you,
contract
Veronica.
Okay, the Contract Review Committee is the grant approval board of the town's Health and Human Services process. Members of the CRC include two people from the Council for Human Services, which I sit on that, and I happen to be the chair of the Council for Human Services. We have a representation from FinCom, who happens to be Joanna Roach, who is my my vice chair. And then we have representation from the Nantucket Planning and Economic Development, and we have 3 members at large that are selected. This is a collaborative process. So I do want to thank all the members of the Contract Review Committee and the Council for Human Services in getting to this point and making it possible for me making this presentation today. My presentation is going to go through process, our awards, what we see for the future, and then I will have Jericho join in for some of our conclusions. In your packet, you have our complete report. So at any point, please do stop if you have questions, or we could hold those to the end. So I want to start with our process. Building upon the hard work and dedication of the CRC for the past bunch of years, back in spring of 2024, Reftelis, a consulting group, was hired to review the entire Health and Human Services grant process. As a result of that, last fall, Council for Human Services, CRC, and the Select Board met with Reftelis and reviewed preliminary results. From that, we gleaned some suggestions. All year, we've been using internally a statement that I have borrowed from Jericho, that we could not stop to make all of our changes at once because things had to keep moving. So we've done this almost as if we're changing the tire on a bike as we're going down the road. So we've taken some of the recommendations and put that into effect for this past cycle. Some of that, the first thing was to revise our application from last year, and building upon the hard work of the CRC over the past couple of years. We looked at what went well, what didn't go well, and tried to improve the application. So when an applicant would come to us, we would have as complete of information as possible. That was done the end of last summer. We then revised the rubric that we've used, which is an extremely important evaluation tool that we use. In the fall, we had a bidders information session. So with all the changes that we made, we had a day that we invited all the applicants to come before us to hear the changes and to see how it would affect their applications, and give them more information for providing us with good applications. The bid was open for 30 days, according to regulations. We received 22 applications. 18 of those were for the Health and Human Services grant, and 4 were for the Substance Misuse grant. CRC reviewed all 22 applications. We divided up among members. And although everyone reviews everything, we assign applications for members to go a deep dive where sometimes they will visit a location, just gather additional information and provide us with how we can go forward. We did interviews. We offered all the applicants an interview to be part of the interview process. We didn't require it this year because we have some applicants that are somewhat repeat and their applications were complete. We didn't need to have an interview, but of the 22, we did 18 interviews. The CRC then, after the interviews, independently completed the rubric, and then we went into deliberations. Deliberations were extremely difficult. They were respectful with lots of debate. And with that, we've come up with the recommendations that are in your packet that you can see today. I'd like to go into recommendations now. I will go first with the substance misuse. Substance misuse grants, it was formally funded through the Cannabis Impact and Tax stream. But for this last cycle, the funding came from the Special Stabilization Fund. We had 4 applicants totaling $233,630 for the $175,000 that we had to award. In the review process, one of the applicants basically did not have not-for-profit status at the time of application or at the time of review, and they were disqualified. With that, it left 3 applicants, and after deliberations, CRC decided that those 3 applicants all were very worthy, and we fully funded them, but it was to the total of only $133,630. That left $41,370 not awarded from the $175,000. So that is substance misuse. Now I'll talk about the Health and Human Services grant. There we had 18 applicants with approximately $1.2 million in the ask for $650,000 to be awarded. Before going into deliberations on this portion, we made a request to the finance director if we could take the $41,000 approximate and move it over to Human Services, since we had almost double the request for the money we had. But because it comes from the Special Stabilization Fund, we could not do that. So what we did is we went into deliberations, once again, extremely hard. We had one applicant that their request was deemed a capital request, and we denied that. We had 3 other applicants that we looked at that they were a purely preventative program. Everyone that applies either falls into a treatment program or prevention. Prevention is extremely important. However, with limited funds, we decided that we were going to zero fund 3 programs that were purely preventative. So that left a balance of the requests that you can see, and the vast majority of the request, we reduced what we were able to give them from their request. But that totaled then to the $650,000 that we had to award. future plans. We realize that a needs assessment has not been done in over 15 years. This was something that came out very loud and clear in the Reftelis Group's recommendations. So we are in the process of starting a needs assessment that won't be complete until much later in the year. But that is underway. The second thing that we're going to do to improve the process for next year is to include a letter of intent in the application process. All of these not-for-profits spend a great deal of time preparing the information to give to us. And rather than going all the way down the road and finding that it really is not appropriate, the letter of intent will help that process. We also are considering putting a cap on the amount of each award. What happens is we have some organizations that the funding that they receive from the town is extremely important for operating and providing services. But if we award everyone at those top dollars, what happens is new and innovative programs that potentially could develop, we just don't have the money. So we're considering a cap on individual awards. And that leaves us to later on this spring, CRC, Council for Human Services, are going to convene again and review the Reftelis recommendations, review the process for this past cycle, and come up with our recommendations that potentially would have to go to select board and potentially town meeting if we look at changing the structure of how this is done. What I want to just say is it's been an honor to serve as the chair of this committee. I am amazed with the dedication of every member of Council for Human Services and Contract Review in getting this done. The process that I've just described has started in August and basically ended at the end of February. So it's over 6 months' work that people devote to this. So I appreciate their help, and I also appreciate the time of the Finance Committee in hearing my spiel today. And I'm going to turn this to Jericho for conclusions.
Thank you, Veronica.
Veronica really covered a lot of the specifics of the process over the course of this year. I'm going to take a brief moment to point out sort of how we found out and how we learned some things that changed, and then what from me will be the next steps for the contract review committee process. So we did have the Youth Behavioral Health Grant a couple of years ago that really showed us some of the limitations in the standard approach to this and led to us contracting with Reftelis, which also allowed us to expand a lot of the kind of providers' opinions on what the CRC grants were and what fell under the CRC kind of guidance and rubric, which is one of the reasons why we've had to expand the initial stages with the letter of intent, and then with some probably more deliberate guidance in terms of how we break the total funding down going forward. We also would probably going forward the next few weeks, we would be requesting to discuss how and where any supplementary funding to continue level funding the substance misuse grant program, which currently is set to expire for next year, as the cannabis impact costs are no longer being assessed in the way that they were in the past. And then we will also be looking to try and pin some sort of cost increase over time, given that the last adjustment to the total grant fund was done previous to COVID, which means that there's an enormous amount of cost of living and inflation increases, which are not accounted for it, especially with the specific cost increases around service delivery on Nantucket. So that is sort of our future plans. And I believe that concludes my remarks.
Okay, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Jericho. And
Thank you, Veronica and Jericho. Joanna, do you, as our committee member that participates, do you want to add anything before I ask the rest of the committee for questions?
I would just say that I think that, you know, Veronica and Jericho really stepped up this year and provided some significant improvements to the process, and that it was, it went smoothly as it could be, aside from the fact that we didn't have enough money to give away. I think it's come a long way. Let's just leave it at that. So I thank you to them, and I appreciate working with them both very much.
Thank you, Joanna. Questions from the committee? Jill?
Hi, Veronica, Jericho. Thanks for that presentation. I was on that committee 4 years ago, so I don't know about, so my only real experience was then, but I'm not familiar with the Raftales group, and I wanted to know more about how that came about and how much that cost actually, and how long is that contract for?
Okay, Jericho, you want to take that?
So the Raftales consultancy was developed at the end of the Youth Behavioral Health Grant as part of the strategic plan that the select board approved of under the Healthy and Vibrant Community column. Essentially, what was discovered is that our grant processes had not fundamentally changed since, in some cases, the articles allocating and creating the boards were originally made. So we I basically wanted to do a best practices approach because as I emerged from COVID, I started realizing that a good chunk of my job is the management of the grant processes. And I thought that there were a variety of different approaches that we could improve kind of operational efficiency and import some best practices from grant processes that I became familiar with elsewhere. We had a couple members of CHS that have been active, Council for Human Services, that have been active in other areas doing similar work. And then as a result, we did a bid process where I think we contacted several consultancies. And then because of the tight connection between Raftales and the ongoing, strategic plan, we ended up granting the agreement to them specifically as because it connected with a variety of other work that they had done, and they could leverage some pre-existing work that they had done to kind of get us a quicker report done faster. I believe the allocation for that was from the Select Board Strategic Fund Plan, which is administered under admin. I do not remember off the top of my head what the total was.
But I mean, is it $10,000? Is it $100,000?
It would have been, it was over the 10,000 limit. We did put it to bid under procurement, I believe.
Right.
Brian, do you off the top of your head have that number?
I was thinking it was about 60.
I'm not sure.
I do not have the number off the top of my head, but I can get you the number.
Okay, thank you. All right.
My recollection was it was in the 60,000 range, but I don't have that number either.
Okay.
Well, I remember being part of the study. I was part of the people they interviewed for it because I had also served on the contract review committee, as has Stephen Morey and Jill and Joanna. So we've all had our turn, and my observation, Veronica, of the improvements you've talked about, I am clapping because it was during my tenure. Of course, everybody worked hard and did a good job, and it clearly needed some updating because it was very labor intensive at the time. And so I'm happy to hear of the improvements. It sounds like it's gone definitely in the right direction. Congratulations on that, Jill.
Yeah, and I just wanted to also add that it looked like you incorporated scoring this time around, and that was really, I appreciate that. We do that on the capital program committee, and any kind of ranking system really helps with that discussion. So well done.
Thank you. It's one of the important tools in order to be able to compare apples to apples or apples to oranges, actually. So we tried it for a few years to get it going, but I do have to commend the committee for really embracing it this past year. So we built upon the successes of the past number of years and hopefully have made this process better and will continue doing that moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Jill?
Yeah, just one more question. It was about South Coast Legal.
Mhm.
Sorry for the noise. South Coast Legal was at $5,000, I think, on the list, right?
Yes.
I
Yes.
feel like they've been at $5,000 forever. Like it was like that when I was on the committee and even before.
too.
I would think that that amount would go up by now, and I just wondered why.
South Coast Legal has been at $5,000 forever. And from what I understand, the only thing that they are requesting in the grant is basically travel funds back and forth, that they are, their funding for the folks that come over is completely different, and we just pay the $5,000 to get them here. But you were exactly right. It's been $5,000 is my history.
Thank you.
Jeremy?
Yes, I was, thank you. I was curious, how much, was not funded? So you received, if you could just give me the summary of how much you received from the town
Right.
versus how much you would like to get.
Okay, so 1.2 million and change was what total the Health and Human Services grant, and we awarded 650,000. So basically there was $650,000 that did not get funded.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy.
We're looking.
Go ahead, Jericho.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
That's okay.
To follow up on the second half of that question is that the demand or request is not a particularly good indicator of genuine need. So one of the attempts for what we're trying to do through this needs assessment is benchmark ourselves versus other communities, and then also attempt to figure out what services are available and what services aren't available. And then we can use that to inform our judgments about what funding will go to next and for the total amount of the funding.
Right. If I can add on that, we know that the substance misuse monies will be going away in the nature of that, how they've come to us. But that need has not gone away. That need remains steady. In fiscal year 25, we were graciously given $175,000 that we awarded to youth and behavioral health programming, which really awakened some very interesting programs on the island and providing necessary services for our youth. That need is not going away. So we know that the need is great, and we are hoping that our needs assessment will help us to come, as opposed to saying, you know, the sky is the limit, because we know that's not so. But a healthy community only happens when you have healthy members of your community. So this all adds to that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Veronica. Okay. Any more questions? Oh, Brian, go ahead.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So first of all, the Raftellus contract was 49,500.
Okay. Thank you.
Second of all, I want to make one observation. I don't think that the substance misuse money is going away. I think that it is going to it's going to be reduced because the only money going in will be money from the cannabis tax. There will be no impact fee money going in. So it's not going away. Yes, the level of funding will be changed based on the fact that there will be less sources of funding going into the stabilization that was set up. So it's not going to be completely eliminated. I just want to make sure that that's clear to everyone.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Brian.
that.
Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll ask for a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so a motion to adopt and a second. Joe raised his hand, so we'll give it to Joe. Okay, and give me a second. And that. Jeremy,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
and Denise, unanimous. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Veronica and Jericho.
Thank
Excellent
you.
presentation, and in spite of the owl letting you down. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the time. Okay.
thanks a lot. Okay. Brian, Article 23, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, so before you, if it's okay with you, Madam Chair, I won't take you through every one of them, but the majority of them are airport rescissions consistent with their practice. Most of these are rescissions for things that you saw in Article 3 that they transferred retained earnings or transferred prior appropriations from other capital articles to these capital articles. I will note a couple of the larger ones. As I mentioned, they're rescinding the $3,885,000 for the construction of the dormitory because they transferred $3,885,000 in retained earnings to fund that. So they're rescinding that borrowing, and that will keep the budget at the same level of the $7 million that had previously been authorized in total. And in 2020, they authorized $8 million for groundwater investigation. With the transfers that they have made at this year's town meeting, or hopefully will be approved at this year's town meeting, they will have funded all $8 million, all expenditures through transfers from retained earnings or other available funds. So they are asking to rescind that borrowing authorization, which is consistent with their practices. The only other two rescissions on here, if you just scroll down, Stephen, thank you. Two of the other ones that I did mention as part of the Lover's Lane project are we are rescinding two sidewalk improvement program authorizations in the amount of $615,496 and then $660,000. And as I mentioned, we will be at next Thursday's meeting be bringing forward a borrowing authorization in Article 10 for the $1,275,000 for the additional supplemental funding that will complete the request for that supplemental funding. And the reason that we have to do it this way is you cannot transfer a borrowing authorization from one article to another. So in order to do this will be a net zero impact or increase to our borrowing authority authorizations. This will basically is a one-for-one exchange. And then the only other rescission is Sparks Avenue sewer main repairs. These have been completed and were funded, and we can rescind this authorization of $250,000.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions for Brian? Okay, may I have the motion would be motion to adopt. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to adopt. Well done, Brian.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Jill. Second by made by Jill, seconded by Jeremy, and roll call. Joe,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Jeremy,
Aye.
Denise, aye. It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, Brian, I think it's your last one. Community Preservation Committee, fiscal year 2025 budget transfers.
Well, I wish it was my last one, Madam Chair, but I have two at the very end of the agenda.
Oh,
so.
yes, yes, you do. Sorry.
As of right now, we know of no 2025 budget transfers. The CPC hasn't brought forward any, so the motion that we would ask for is move to take no action on the article.
Sounds good
So
to me.
moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Jill. Second, Peter, made by Jill, second by Peter, take no action. And Joe,
Aye.
Jeremy,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Denise, aye, unanimous. Okay, thank you. All right, Brian, you get a little pause. All right, Leslie, Select Board for Planning Board, zoning map change. I believe you revisited that, so do we need to reopen it? Because according to my notes, the planning board originally gave it a positive recommendation, and we had a unanimous motion to support the planning board's recommendation. So I will turn it over to you as to what's happening with 34.
So for 34, after the planning board held their public hearing and made a recommendation, the property owners reached out to staff and actually preferred the commercial district as opposed to the residential district. So the new motion is to rezone these parcels from RC2, which is a commercial district, to commercial neighborhood, which is also a commercial district. And that's consistent with the creation of neighborhood nodes, which is part of the master plan.
Okay, so folks, what we need to do is we need to make a motion to reopen our recommendation, vote on that, and then vote on the new motion from the planning board. So may I have a motion to reopen?
Motion to reopen.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, made by Peter, seconded by Jill. Joe?
Aye.
Jeremy?
Aye.
Jill?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
Joanna?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
And me, aye. Okay, so it's reopened. And any further questions for Leslie in terms of instead of, it was originally RC2 to R10 or CN, and now they've taken out the R10, basically.
Motion to
So it's going-
adopt.
A motion to support the planning board motion?
Yep.
Thank you.
Second.
Any further discussion? Second, no further discussion? Okay, seeing none. Joe?
Aye.
Jill?
Aye.
Jeremy?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
Joanna?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Denise, aye. Okay, that's unanimous support. Planning board. And 47, Leslie, we had originally, we were unanimous motion to support planning board's motion. Planning board made a positive recommendation, and we had a lot of discussion on the wording. So I think you're going to probably tell us about some new wording. Is that true?
Yes, you all may recall that you discussed this article at length and went through the way that year-round housing was proposed to be defined in the zoning bylaw. Following the meeting, I spoke with Stephen Morey and with John Giorgio and came up with some new language that the planning board supported. So it's just a language change. The intent is the same as it was before.
Okay, so I'm going to reopen it, Leslie, and then I'm going to ask you for the new language after we reopen it. So may I have a motion to reopen the article?
So moved.
Made by Peter, seconded by Jill. Joe?
Aye.
Jeremy?
Aye.
Jill?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
Joanna?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
Denise, aye, so it's reopened. And Leslie, would you like to share with us the new wording, please?
I just need 1 second to pull that up. Not planning to read that, so just 1 minute. Okay, so the new language is just 1 second. Housing that serves as the principal residence of the occupant for at least 10 months per year, whether owner occupied or not. So I believe that addresses the concern that was brought up.
Can you read that again, please?
Housing that serves as the principal residence of the occupant or occupants for at least 10 months per year, whether owner occupied or rented.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments about that? Joe?
I'm just curious, 10 months as opposed to 12? You can, if you own it and you can be a principal resident, but you don't actually have to be physically there and you can rent it to someone, why not 12?
Well, 10 months is consistent with the Housing Needs Covenant Program and other occupancy restrictions for housing programs.
Okay.
I mean, I think the example when I think of that, my observation is a lot of people may travel for work or they may go away in the winter. And so they're not physically in their house for 12 months of the year, but it is their year-round housing. So I think that gives some flexibility for folks who, you know, may not necessarily work on island or have to travel for their job, and then their housing is still considered year-round. That's how I would view that. So as an observation. Art?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Not opposed, just a follow up to Mr. Wright's comment. Just think about that in the inverse, if you will, though, just for discussion purposes. If you're trying, the purpose of this is basically that people aren't doing summer rentals and you're getting people into stable year-round housing. This could allow people to then rent for July and August, set up their, if I'm mistaken, but it just seems this way, that it's a bit of a loophole that you could call it a year-round rental from September to June, and you're really not solving establishing year-round housing, because, you know, these people then still have to, the whatever benefits are being accrued as a result of establishing something as a year-round occupancy. If with this only having 10 months, if people then make those people leave so they can rent it in July and August, you're kind of defeating that, I think. It just seems that it seems it should just be 12 months as to me. And who's going to police if somebody goes on vacation for a little while, versus the bigger issue is if these year-round rentals aren't really year after year all round, and people are still having to do the shuffle because that residence is then being rented for July and August when people could make the greatest profit. So it's just something to think about. Thanks.
So Art, to your comment, did you bring it up with the planning board? Because as you realize, the finance committee is the frosting on the cake here. The actual vote is at
No,
the...
and I'm not fully opposing. I probably should have, of all
Okay.
the things. I kind of didn't catch that. It just, and I can appreciate that it mirrors the other housing, but I think if the intent is year round, it seems like you've got a potential loophole there. I'm not going to the mat on this. I just wanted to raise that.
Okay. No, I was just curious if you had gone to planning board and shared the same thoughts. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for your comments. Okay. Any other comments or questions in respect of this? All right. The motion would be, well, it's motion to support or to not support the planning board motion. We did support it last time with its more awkward wording, let's put it that way. And just as a data point for us. Do I have a motion?
Motion to support.
Okay, the planning board motion. Is there a
Yes.
second?
Second.
Joe, okay. Stephen seconded. Okay, Peter okay. All right, Joe.
Aye.
Okay, Jill.
Aye.
Rob.
Aye.
Jeremy.
Aye.
Joanna.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
Stephen.
Aye.
Denise, aye. Okay, thank you. All right, this is a new one. Leslie, 48, zoning bylaw amendment, off-street parking requirements, accessory dwelling.
So this Article 48 is really a companion to Article 43, which also addressed accessory dwelling unit to make the definition consistent with what the legislature just recently approved through the Affordable Homes Act. For Article 48, this modifies the parking section of the zoning bylaw, and it will more accurately reflect that accessory dwelling units are not allowed in these commercial districts, which is consistent with the state law.
And the planning board made a what motion?
A positive motion.
Okay. Any questions for Leslie on this? Okay, seeing none, may I have a motion, please?
Motion to support the planning board.
Thank you, Peter. And a second from Stephen. Okay, Joe,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Jeremy,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Denise, I. Okay. Report unanimous. Thank you. Article 59, sponsored by David Visco, zoning map change, Lug 1 to VR, Rachel Drive and South Shore Road. Leslie, over to you, please.
The proponents of this article asked that it not move forward at this time. It received a lot of discussion at the planning board hearing. Excuse me, and as a result, the planning board motion is to take no action.
Okay. Seems pretty straightforward. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to support the planning board motion.
You're doing
Second.
a great job. You're doing a
Thank
great
you.
job,
You're still
Peter
paying
and
me
Jill.
$10 for each one, right?
Yes, I am. It's
Thank you.
it's what's the word? It's Bitcoin, so don't get too excited.
That's all right.
So,
After
okay,
the
Joe,
market today, I'll take Bitcoin.
Joe,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Aye.
Rob, Jeremy,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Denise, aye, unanimous. Okay, Article 65, Emily Molden, zoning bylaw amendment, pre-existing non-conforming uses, structures and lots. Leslie, over to you, please.
Okay, is this one that we talked about before or is this new today?
New today.
New today, okay, great. So Article 65 is a citizen petition. This particular citizen proposed something similar. I think 2 town meetings ago, the planning board did not support the article at the time. And she's been working with staff to develop something that the planning board will support, and that was successful. This addresses pre-existing non-conforming structures and lots. There's a provision of state law 4181L that allows you to divide a lot into a substandard size lot if the structures on the lots predate the local adoption of subdivision control law. So for Nantucket, that dates 1955. The way the bylaw was structured, there is no notice for that because it's statutory. And then the structures could be completely redeveloped without any notification to the neighbors and without any permitting other than through the HDC and the building department. So the change would require a special permit to be issued when certain changes are made to the structure. So it adds an additional layer of oversight. And I believe this special permit authority would be the Zoning Board of Appeals, and it allows for a abutter notification. And the planning board supported this article.
Okay, any questions in respect of this? Okay, seeing none, may I have a motion, please?
Motion to adopt.
Thank you. To support the planning board motion, thank you.
Yes,
Peter?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Joe,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Rob?
Aye, but I don't think you got a second, did you?
Yeah, oh, sorry, I don't know if I did.
I think I did hit my
Second.
button, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Rob. So you're the second and now you can vote. Go ahead, Rob.
Aye.
Jeremy,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Okay, Denise, aye, unanimous. Okay, thank you, Leslie. We will set you free. Thank you very much. All righty. Brian, your turn again. 103, stabilization fund. Oh,
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this year, after a few years with the relatively high free cash, that we are committed to rebuilding the reserves after using some for a couple of the articles at last year's annual and special town meetings. So this year we're putting additional monies into the reserves right now. So we would ask for a motion move to take no action for this article.
Okay, any questions for Brian? All right, seeing none, may I have the motion, please?
Motion to support.
Okay, move to take no action. Thank
Second.
you. And seconded by Jill. All right, Joe,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Joanna,
I,
Jeremy.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And Brian, free cash.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and we'll put this up. This article would theory only be necessary if we had no other way to deal with the allocation or appropriation of free cash, but since we have appropriated the free cash through the various articles to date and have the meeting tomorrow to, if we needed to, we would ask for a motion to take no action on this article as it's not needed.
Any questions for Brian? Jill?
But Brian, you're just saying we don't really need it because we already directed the money
Yes.
individually in the previous articles. Okay.
Yes.
Motion to support Article 104.
Second.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay,
wait,
thank
he
you.
wants us to take no action.
Yeah, so the motion was to take no action. Yes. Okay, and seconded by Jeremy, still seconded? Yes. Thank you, Jeremy. Okay, Joe,
Aye, yes. Aye.
Jeremy,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Joanna,
I,
Denise, aye, unanimous. I like that I call my name and then I'm surprised with what I say. All right, do it every time. Committee reports. Are there any? I don't think so. Other than Capcom will be having some committees. Oh, hold on a second. Brian had his hand up and then Peter, I'll go to you. Brian?
Madam Chair, I think we need to reopen Article 7 because we had a typo in it that I inadvertently gave to the town manager.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. Thank you. Yes. We did, but it wasn't on our list for today. Do we want to, but
Well, I
our
think
agenda
the-
does say any
agenda
other
does say-
articles as
yes.
needed. Okay. So, all right. I knew, Brian, you were not ready to go home. So,
I'm not.
Okay.
I think Libby is going to share it though, because I don't think I have the actual change. I think the town manager is going to share it. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Libby, over to you, please.
So, as Brian said, we made a unfortunate typo right here. So this number here for the town clerk, 142,501, should be this number over here. And that this is consistent with our comp and class plan. We just underdid it a little bit.
Okay, so first we need a motion to reopen this article to correct the typo. So may I have a motion to reopen, please?
Motion reopen.
Second.
Okay. Thank you, and roll call. Jeremy,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Joanna,
I,
Denise, aye. Okay. And our last time that we motioned this was motion to adopt without the typo, or with the typo. So I'm assuming that's the motion we're about to hear. Please.
Motion to adopt to include the salary adjustment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jill. May I have a second? Thank you, Jeremy. Okay, Jeremy,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Joanna,
I,
Stephen,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Denise, aye. It's unanimous. Okay, thank you.
Thank
All
you,
right.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Peter, you
you.
raised your hand for, Peter, thank you, Libby. Peter, you raised your hand for committee reports?
Just a short one on our island home. It's been brought up several times that why aren't they out raising money? And just so you know, the town can't go out and raise money for something like that, ask for donations. But a group has been formed, Friends of Our Island Home and the Nantucket Community Foundation, and they're starting to solicit pledges. We can't take any money, obviously, until it's approved at town meeting. So we are looking for pledges, and anybody that's interested, naming rights are also available. We'd be happy to talk to you. And not me, the committee would be happy to talk to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Peter. All right, so the date of next meeting is tomorrow at 4 o'clock, fully remote. And then we have the meeting on Thursday, which is with the select board and planning board. I mean, every time we've had that meeting, it's gone pretty quickly, I have to say. And then now we do have the additional meeting on the 20th, also will be fully remote, should be fairly quick, just to do a few little housekeeping things before, to keep them from being technical amendments. So, honestly, nobody wanted this to be over more than me in terms of the 13th, but I'm happy to do a little extra sprint on the 20th, and I'm appreciative that all of you will be too. Thank you very much. So, any other business? And seeing none, as always, thank you very much, everyone, and thank you. And may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Yeah, it's every time, every time. That's the zippiest one. Joe,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Jeremy.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Thanks, everyone.
I know.